In this video, we'll talk about component folder structure. In the previous video, we already created a component Hello World, and that Hello World component sits under the LWC folder. So if I open the component, by default while creating the component, it generates three types of file. First file is the HTML that by default has the template tag. So your whole HTML code will go within this template tag. Without template tag, it will throw an error. Always remember, HTML is for your structure, and within the template tag you will write your HTML. Second file is the JavaScript file. Here also it auto generates some code for us, and in the auto generate code it has the class name. Class name is similar as our component name, but it's using the Pascal case. All letters are capital, like hello H capital and word W capital, and it's extending the lightning element that is imported from the LWC package. So LWC package is the core package that handle our all LWC executions or code execution, and from that we are just extending a lightning element so that our component get the power to handle the lightning web components. So here under our class we're gonna write our JavaScript. In HTML we're gonna write our HTML for the structure of the page or the component. And the third file is the configuration file, or we called it as a meta configuration file, that tells to the Salesforce pages or Salesforce record page, app page, or the Salesforce platform whether this component should be available or visible to a page or not. By default, it's not visible to a page. We need to set some configuration property here so that our component should be visible to the page, or some properties we can fetch from the design attribute or not. We'll look into all these things, but these are the three default files coming by default while creating the component. The point to be note here is all the files has the same name as our folder name, that is our component name. So remember, when we create a component, our file name should be always same. Apart from these files, these are the three default files. Apart from these three default files, we have other files that we can bring under the folder. So let's go and look into that. So this is how our whole folder structure look like. So these yellow ones are the default files. Then apart from the default files, we can add the CSS file for the styling. And while creating a CSS file, we have to create it manually. While creating this file, you have to make sure your name of the file should match with your folder name or the component name. Only the extension will get changed. Then we can add the SVG file, and SVG file is for adding some icon, that scalar vector graphic icons, if you want to add other custom icons that you can create yourself using the dot extension of SVG. And here also the file name should be the same as the component name, and you can add only one CSS file per component, as well as the one SVG file per component. After that, there is one interesting file that you can add is the JS file. You can add as many as other JS file that you want based on your code structures, and the name can be anything, because in JavaScript we have a power to import and export the file, or import and export the code. So here the most common use case of these sort of file are if you are creating a constant file, you want your all static data to be in a separate file, and then you want to import the data into a main controller file, that is hello world.js. That way you can use that. Apart from that, you will see another folder under your main component. When you learn the testing, there will be a file called underscore underscore test underscore underscore, and under that you will create a file with the same folder name or the same component name with the extension .text.js. That will help you to run your test cases for this particular component. So this is the full-fledged component structure that can be you can create actually. And by default, these three files, most commonly we gonna enter the SCSS file most commonly. Rest all we'll see very rarely in real time, until unless we start writing the test cases. But most commonly these four files gonna be useful in the real time. So Now we are good with the folder structure, and in the next video we'll learn about the different types of naming conventions we use in LWC, so that when I talk a particular name we should not get confused. So I'll see you in the next video.